All right, so I've got an update on the Diddy situation for you guys, and this one is a little bit bizarre because it turns out that Diddy's not just wasting his time whilst he is in federal custody, okay? He is actually taking things very seriously. He's trying to spread that bad boy love, okay? He's trying to spread it around like a smooth layer of baby oil on I ain't even gonna go there, okay? But look, he is apparently getting busy in not even like that, no Diddy, okay? But he is apparently getting busy behind bars and making the most of his time inside. It's just so sus, okay? But look, before we get to that, okay, I just want to recap the situation with Diddy, okay? Because he's been convicted essentially of these 2 sex charges under the Mann Act for transporting prostitutes. He's been cleared of the RICO, he's been cleared of the actual human trafficking, and he really is awaiting his sentencing. The fate is in the judge's hand. The judge still doesn't want to give him a bond, and he's been trying to put pressure on the judge. His legal team have been trying to put pressure on the judge to kind of, let him skate and to not let him have any too much serious time. But they're recommending quite a lot of years for him, okay? They're recommending a ridiculous amount of time, up to 11 years or something crazy, 10 years that he could be facing. He has been making motions to try and get acquitted or to get a new trial. But the latest update is, unfortunately for him, this has been denied, okay? Sean Diddy Combs' motions to acquit or get a new trial are denied, people. They're denied, all right? They're not going to let him skate, all right? The case went to trial after the government rested Combs' move for acquittal. The motion focused mostly on the racketeering and sex trafficking, but also contested the Mann Act charges. With respect to the Mann Act, Combs argued the escorts who testified didn't travel across state lines, that they disavowed that they were paid for sex or engaged in prostitution, and that they sometimes were paid even when they didn't have the S word. But the court withheld its decision and the charges went to the jury. Okay, all of his motions to get a new trial have been denied. Okay, he was convicted after an 8-week trial. Okay, the court reversed its decision. Combs renewed his motion after the verdict. He also moved for a new trial. And for the following reasons, both motions are denied, okay? He was saying that judge is not playing. Good job, judge. He didn't even show remorse. That's the least that he could have done. That's the least that he could have done. Instead, he cried about his own discomfort. Friday will be interesting, okay? So they're saying that it's going to be tomorrow. Okay, it's Thursday today. They're going to be saying that it's tomorrow that he might actually be facing his sentencing. And people are mocking him. They're saying, I lolled at this part. It's not in the screenshots, but it's from the same document. It says, at trial, Combs proposed that the jury instructions define prostitution as engaging in sexual activity for money or its equivalent. Citing Black's Law Dictionary and state law definitions, the court adopted Combs' definition in its instructions to the jury that proceeded to convict Combs under that definition. Then Combs changed his mind. Now he argues that his proposed definition was wrong all along. Kudos to his shameless defense team, because there's no way they didn't know this was prostitution. They didn't know this prostitution definition thing was nonsense, but they got billable hours out of him anyway. And I can't imagine how many hours got billed, but you know for a fact that Puffy's got that money, and these lawyers are definitely hitting a come up, all right? And people are pointing out, saying, I've pointed this out myself, I think this is really interesting. People are saying, let's not forget that the Tupac murder trial is scheduled for next year. Diddy's name has been thrown around by a lot of people as of late when it comes to that night in Vegas. What the prosecution does with that, if anything, time will tell, okay? I've always thought it wouldn't be surprising if the last minute Hail Mary, Diddy ends up getting implicated in that Tupac trial, okay? People are saying he should have pled guilty. For the life of me, why do guilty people try and act innocent? The text thread alone, all the videos, the Kid Cudi situation itself, baby, he needs to be like, okay, you guys got me. Him and Maxwell can move to Guantanamo Bay, okay? People saying he telegraphed this when he ruled earlier that Puff can have regular clothes for the sentencing hearing. That wouldn't have been necessary if he was going to throw out the case, okay? What the hell? It says, keep in mind, he denied Cassie's allegations from the very beginning and only admitted the guilt once the video of him beating Cassie was leaked. Everyone has seen all the videos of him dressed as the Joker, whiling out in Hollywood, him rubbing himself all over Meek Mill, and the photos of the giant orgy bed at his parties. There's obviously something wrong with this dude. I'm not going to lie. I don't be having no orgies, but I do like to laze around in bed when I'm not working, man. I like the biggest bed possible, okay? And this, minus the baby oil and the freaking off, I would just love to get some rest in this bed. I'm not going to lie. That is actually exceptional. I'm trying to get hold of one of these beds. No Diddy, okay? But the reason I'm making this video and the reason that I think just this thing is actually really interesting is because according to the news, okay, Diddy is offering a 6-week course to fellow inmates at his Brooklyn jail called Free Game with Diddy. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, how bizarre could it possibly be if you're over there doing some federal time, or you're awaiting your trial or your sentencing in your federal case? You're in there chilling. You're in there with 6ix9ine, Diddy, Luigi Mangione, Sam Bankman-Fried. You're all just cooling off in there, man. Gene Barello might pop in there every now and then. All right, with the mobsters. And Diddy is just strolling around talking about, yeah, I'm going to drop Free Game with Diddy. Okay, and they're saying when Diddy asks you to come party for free, you gotta tell him no. People are saying, I know he's loving it in there. All right. So I thought this was really interesting. Okay, it came out in The Independent. It says Diddy is offering a 6-week course to fellow inmates called Free Game with Diddy. Combs, who faces up to 20 years in prison when he's sentenced on Friday on Mann Act convictions, is teaching inmates about positive thinking, dealing with failure, and goal setting. So Sean Diddy Combs has been teaching fellow inmates how to better themselves on a course that he now runs from the Brooklyn jail where he's holed up on prostitution charges. Like, how hilarious is this? That it's like, okay, I'm going to give back. I'm going to give back. At this point, it's time for me to teach people how to better themselves when I've basically thrown everything away and I'm actually in an enormous mess. But you got to respect that he's actually in there trying to, spread some game, spread some love, give people a little bit of help and support with their mindset when they're going through these things. The course is called Free Game with Diddy, which is slang for information given freely. I'm glad they defined that. The details of the 6-week course the 55-year-old is running at the Metropolitan Detention Center have been shared by Combs' legal team in letters of support from... So I just wish I was taking this course, man. That's crazy. Ahead of his sentencing, where he could address the court for the first time. Combs is apparently teaching inmates about positive thinking, how to deal with failure, goal setting, and shares other business intel according to the syllabus, all right? He might be learning to deal with failure in a whole different dimension when the sentencing comes down. I'm not going to hold you. It says the course offers exclusive insights into the journey of Sean Diddy Combs, tracing his rise from humble beginnings to becoming a globally recognized icon and influential business mogul, the syllabus said. They missed out the part after he became a global business mogul where he ended up in the feds, facing serious charges. The former business tycoon has received glowing reviews from inmates, but none of them mentioned the prostitution offenses he was convicted of in July in their letters to Judge Aaron Subramanian. Okay, it says, this class is teaching me how to be disciplined, one inmate wrote. I know by applying myself in this class, it will help me become self-aware of my negative behavior. Even behind bars with limited resources, I have witnessed this man do magical things. He shared his first-hand knowledge and experience of being in the corporate world, wrote another. Mr. Combs has inspired me to change my views on life. He's taught me to always hold myself accountable, to have self-discipline, and to always be consistent with what I'm doing. When I'm released, I can move forward with what I've learned from his class, wrote another inmate. He has taught me to focus on bettering myself instead of gossiping or getting into trouble. I don't know about that last part. I think he deserves his freedom. He isn't made for this place. On an inmate performance evaluation form, a prison manager wrote, Combs, excellent work, great class. Despite the rave reviews about his course, prosecutors are asking for the judge to sentence Combs to 135 months, more than 11 years behind bars, all right? They're saying that the crimes are so serious, all right? They've warranted sentences over 10 years in multiple cases for defendants who, like Sean Combs, engaged in violence and put others in fear, okay? But really, all right, we're finding out all these interesting bits of backstory about what Diddy's getting up to whilst he is inside, okay? Basically, this reporter has been inside the courtroom every day and is breaking down all of the backstory about what Diddy is getting up to behind bars. It is pretty impressive. So a lot of the commentary from inmates that have taken Diddy's class have been reproduced in actual letters that have been posted by The Sun, which essentially is, there's a bunch of letters of support that have been written to try and get him a lower sentence. It says, he brings joy. Read letters written by Diddy's cellmates as they review class that the disgraced music mogul has been teaching in prison. One described Combs as a focused, positive, God-fearing man. All right, so they've got pictures of these. Now I'm gonna try and read these the best that I can, okay? But the cursive might be a little bit difficult for me. I'm not gonna lie. It says, "Dear Judge, hello. My name is Quinton Davis. I'm a fellow peer of Sean Combs. My personal experience with him has been great. Mr. Combs has shown me and the rest of the inmates here a lot of respect and taught us how to become better versions of ourselves. Mr. Combs started 6-week class here at MDC where he teaches us business management, entrepreneurship, and life skills. It's a key factor and inside scoop of how Mr. Combs started from nothing and became the icon business mogul that he is today. This first-hand experience in the corporate world and his business ventures. The free game class with Mr. Combs has affected me in a good way and has impacted me because I've learned many things like how to create a successful plan, and that the plan has to be realistic. I also learned how to research things better by using AI or ChatGPT. One thing that stuck out to me was that Mr. Combs taught me something. Can I read the rest of that, or is that just we just on to the next one? We on to the next one. This is just the top of one, somebody doing a work performance rating. So that's Sean Combs. This is his actual work performance rating as a worker delivering a class at the Department of Prisons, okay? People are saying, excellent class, keep up the great work, all right? They're loving Diddy's class, all right? They're actually loving Diddy's class. This is another letter that says, Dear Judge, my name is Douglas Welsh. I'm 42 years old. I'm from Queens, New York. I've been in MDC Brooklyn for 2 years. I've been with Sean Combs for a year. I've gotten to know him as a person. He's focused, positive, and a God-fearing man. Sean Combs brings... Excuse me, I was going to burp. Sean Combs brings love into the unit that I know because since he's been here, all the Spanish and black inmates cook and pray together and work out together too. Since he started his class, I've been going harder at my health journey. His class is called Free Game with Diddy. The class is on once a week. It's 1 hour long once a week. He gives us a chance to ask him questions, and he also lets us pick his brain for information about his personal life, his grind, his journey, and his blueprint for his success. He has showed us that it's the little adjustments to our everyday life that adds up to a big change. Some of us are trying to better our health and fight drug addiction. Other people are on a spiritual journey. He has taught me to make a plan and write down my progress each week, put my pride to the side and have no ego. And I have to sacrifice my bad habits to be successful, man. He's dropping that free game, okay? Everybody's loving free game, all right? Everybody's loving free game. It's like hanging out with Boondog or something, okay? It says, I'm an inmate incarcerated at MDC Brooklyn. I've been here for 4.5 years to this date. Since I've been here, I've obtained my GED. Besides my GED, I haven't had the chance to participate in any other programs because there aren't any. Till Mr. Combs' incarceration, and since he's been in the unit with myself, others and I have gotten the chance to know Mr. Combs personally. And now I can say I know him as a friend and not as a celebrity. While Mr. Combs, I don't know why they're saying Mr. Combs has been in my unit, I've seen a great change in Mr. Combs. He brings joy and happiness to the atmosphere in the unit. He changes the vibe positively and constructively to each and everyone. Because of Mr. Combs, everyone in the unit is treating and active positively towards each other, and for many people that's a step forward in becoming a better person for when they get out of prison. Mr. Combs is changing people's lives. For many in here, that is unthinkable, and we got Mr. Combs to thank for that. Mr. Combs cares very much for everyone in here, no matter the race or age, and he is making it his business to do best to make an impact on our lives. And what people don't realize is that he's not asking for anything in return, maybe a reduced sentence. He's just doing this out of the kindness of his heart and a chance to give something back to people who are less fortunate, man. He done fell down to his knees when the law came, okay? So realistically, bro, I'm not going to lie, all right? Everybody is loving Diddy, okay? Everybody's loving Diddy in the jail. They're loving his class. They're loving the free game that he's dropping and all of that good stuff. But unfortunately, not everybody in the whole world is loving Diddy, okay? This has actually just come out recently, okay? More allegations. It might not surprise you, okay? It says, former stylist for Sean Diddy Combs details his alleged abuse and says he feared for his life the whole time, okay? People saying, yet nobody ever left. It's just a job. What victims, all right? Why didn't he say that on the stand? All right? But apparently, Diddy was making this man's life a living hell as well, okay? This says, in his first TV interview, a former stylist for Diddy told CBS Mornings he feared for his life the whole time when he worked for the music mogul. And he did actually testify against Combs against him in the federal trial. Okay, he filed a lawsuit last week alleging Combs physically and sexually abused him for years. Combs denies the allegations. Have we got the footage? Let's just take a look at the video to give ourselves a bit more of a clearer understanding of what this new set of allegations is all about.
Tomorrow to be sentenced for his felony convictions on prostitution-related charges. Our national correspondent Jerika Duncan spoke exclusively with a former employee who testified in the hip-hop mogul's criminal trial. Stylist Deontay Nash filed a lawsuit last week alleging Combs physically and sexually abused him for years, which Combs denies.
You say you were strangled on several occasions.
Several. Mm-hmm.
Was there ever a point where you thought, I could die?
The whole time. I said, he gonna kill us. He is going to kill us.
You talk in the lawsuit about literally having a to-go bag and cash just in case you had to go into hiding?
Mm-hmm. It has some underwear, some shorts, a tank top, a hoodie, and, you know, just some Vans.
And you say this so casually, like this was normal behavior at that time.
Normal behavior, and it would be like, you know, very normal. This was normal, very normal behavior, and everybody pacified it. So who are we gonna tell? Like, who exactly were we gonna tell? Who are we gonna call? Ghostbusters? Like, there was no one there to save us.
And we'll have
really
more.
Said Ghostbusters, man. It said Ghostbusters were the only guys that could stop Diddy. So yeah, he's got another case. Okay, Diddy's got another civil case in this situation. The lawsuit has been filed. It says that he personally experienced physical, mental, and emotional abuse at the hands of the defendants during a 10-year employment period, including forced tests of loyalty, manipulation, harassment, assaults, physical violence and manhandling, labor trafficking, threats of harm, and threats of death. He's seeking compensatory, general, and punitive damages on the case, okay? But Diddy's attorney clapped back, said that Nash's claims was riddled with falsehoods and stands in stark contrast to the record. They say Mr. Nash's tabloid-style accusations are insulting not only to Diddy, but also to the countless individuals who worked honorably and professionally within his companies. In court, the truth will prevail, as it did at its criminal trial, that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted anyone, adult, minor, man, or woman. Mr. Combs looks forward to clearing his name in a court of law where the truth matters. Okay, so we're gonna hopefully get an update tomorrow. We'll hopefully get the Diddy sentencing. We'll finally be able to get to the bottom of this thing. Who knows, man? If he ends up getting a big sentence, it could be free game with Diddy University, all right? It could end up being a full 3-4 year undergraduate course at this point. Okay, so if you're ready to major in Diddyology, okay, you want to get yourself down to MDC Brooklyn. All right. Hope you found that update interesting. I will update you guys once Diddy gets sentenced. I will keep an eye out for the news tomorrow. I will 1000% do an update. And thank you for everybody subscribing to the channel. You know we can't stop, won't stop. No Diddy. I'm out of here. See you next time.